Perfect.
Okay, here they come. Here we go.
Yay!
You do know some of these folks. All right, so I will just be admitting people. What is up, family? I'm so happy to have you guys here. I'm just going to be letting people in for probably like 2 minutes, and then I'm going to be super focused and we are going to celebrate. So, as you're coming in, I just want you to know that this is like one part wedding with all my people, one part like giving birth to this thing that I've been working on. And I'm just like so many Zoom invites here. And and it's a little overwhelming. So I just want you to know that right out of the gate, but in the best ways. All right, at 8:03 here in the East, we're officially going to get started. Um, the other thing that this is for me is like a living funeral. It's like all my favorite people coming here, but like from all throughout my whole life, um, to celebrate, this thing with me. And that's so cool. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for being here, for being in my life. Okay, we're gonna do this. More people are gonna be coming in, and we're gonna let them come in. This is just the nature of humans with busy lives. So, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for coming to celebrate this launch of this book and this work and this movement out into the world that has taken me the better part of 7.5 years to create. And and I was discerning like should there be some kind of celebration? And there was a open and honest, there was a big part of me that was like, not one more thing. I can't do one more thing. I'm so focused on like the book that I can't like organize a Zoom celebration. And then that was only a quick second. And then I was like, of course I have to celebrate this super important thing that I'm really, really proud of with the people I love most in the world. So here we are. This is going to be incredibly casual. No PowerPoints, no asking for like rally your friends or anything like that. You can if you want, but definitely not, that's not what this is about. This is about us being together and celebrating and having fun together. So I have no idea what we're going to do. I invited my very incredibly dear friend, Krista Clive Smith, whom some of you know. She is first and foremost a sister. She is also my coach, and she has been one of the major champions of me and this work over the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, and has become one of my best friends in the world. So she's going to take the reins on emceeing or asking questions or making me uncomfortable. And I am in totally great hands with her. We are all in great hands with her. So without further ado, Krista, I'm handing the mic off to you. Have your way with this evening.
Hey, 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 superstars. I love myself a room of conscious, amazing human beings like all of you. And let's just open the chat and get you guys getting some energy going there by telling us where you're from. Because Matthew, sort of like me, some people collect art, some people collect stamps. We collect remarkable humans and we collect them from all the corners of the globe. So, yeah, please chime in where you're calling in from tonight so that we can just see the landscape of awesome that is the curated group of humans that are here to celebrate you tonight, Matthew. And while you're doing that, I want to give you a little bit of an overview. So, yes, we are keeping it casual, but I believe just like books, all great stories have a bit of an emotional arc. So, tonight, the little arc of the story is the arrival, which is now, a little bit of story, a little bit of discovery, some invitation, community, and we're going to end it with some celebration, just to give you a bit of a map of where we're headed. And so just to open it up, Matthew, I mean, really, 7 years is a long time to carry a book inside you, right?
Yep,
So
that's true.
tonight really isn't the launch of a book. It's more like the culmination of a 7 year journey and perhaps the beginning of one for many of us in this room, because I know the impact and the magnitude of this work and this movement that you're creating. And I think tonight really will change some perceptions and add incredible value to everybody in this room. So, in your own words, even if I think it's the culmination of a 7 year journey, what in your mind actually comes into the world today?
Um, I would say possibility is the word that comes up for me. Um, my calling is really creating conditions for people to live authentically, living true to who they are, and to kind of meet one another in that authentic place and building that bridge to show up together. So the possibility for connection, the possibility for us to see things differently and still love each other and explore and be curious with each other. Yeah, I just see that seed being planted and starting to come out of the soil, and it will bear fruit. And I don't know what will come of that from those fruits, but I know that the spirit of that seed is about all of us showing up authentically, exactly who we are, unapologetically, courageously, and celebrating that.
Beautiful. And if we look back to the origin story, and in the book, when you're in the introduction, you're beginning with what some people might describe as a business failure.
Mhm.
So you describe it almost like a death. And so when you look back now, what actually died that day? And what was born that couldn't have existed if that business had survived?
It was a death in the very literal sense. It was something that I had worked really hard to bring into this world. And you know, looking back, I could say that I didn't parent it well. I wasn't showing up authentically. I wasn't showing up courageously. I wasn't doing all of the things that I'm talking about and inviting others to do. I was showing up as who I thought I should be, and that's what died. It wasn't the business. It was that identity of needing to be anything for anyone else and to try to have it together when I didn't have it together. To try to for other people to perceive me in a certain way, to try to get people to think a certain thing about something. I can't say that I don't care what other people think now, of course, like I care. I think it guides me much less. It's much more of a quiet whisper in the background. So that identity is what died that day. That identity of trying to have it figured out, trying to have that mask of like, you, I got this. Everything's cool. I got a plan. It's gonna work. I became very humbled, and I started to become more and more of who I authentically am in that day, in that moment, in that season.
And it's been such a cool gift for me having a front row seat to watch the identity transformation that has occurred in you over this period of time, to embrace all the pieces. When you, for those people, raise your virtual hands if you've written a book and have one out in the world. For anybody that does, congratulations, you know what a labor of love it is to produce this work. And also to like get out on the skinny branches and put yourself out there. It really, there's a lot of interesting emotion that comes with that. So, Matthew, maybe you talk a lot about identity and witnessing your transformation. Tell me, what are the scariest parts of all this process for your community um, to witness and be able to hold you and cheer for you, even in the vulnerable places?
What's the scariest part of doing this right now? Like bringing this book
This
into the world?
tonight, yes, but
Yeah.
also birthing this
Yeah.
work and having a part of you out there in the world.
I mean, the scariest part is kind of twofold. One is I am like, I'm not gonna take my clothes off, I promise you. But it's like that. It's like there's everything in this book is raw, it's real, it's mistakes that I made, it's the adversity of my life. And there's a real element of like being totally seen. Of course, there's an element of like, will they like it? Like, I hope they like it. Um, Back to your first question, Krista, that was a big part of it. It was like this business, I was so emotionally enmeshed with the business that if like the business wasn't working and the business was failing, I was failing. I was the failure. Now I have some space between that, so I'm not so scared of it. Like Chris Jones, our friend, talks about like I'm gonna sing my song. I'm gonna sing my song at the top of my lungs, and it's not for everybody. Some people are gonna come, and some people are gonna dance and boogie and get down, and some people are like, I don't like that song, and that's okay. I think that's actually great because not everybody should like it if it's authentic and it's real. So the thing that I would say I'm most scared about is, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. I'm actually not afraid of the uncertainty. Um, I'm actually not afraid of anything, honestly. I'm really not. I mean, I really want people to like it. I want it to. I guess the thing I wouldn't say I'm afraid of, but I would say it would be really disappointing if this book didn't get into people's lives and into people's hearts and have the chance to make a difference. That would make me really sad. But I'm really not afraid of putting this out there in the world.
Amazing. Well, I want to harness the power of this community, and I want to get everybody else who's here celebrating tonight to jump in the pool with you, feeling a little uncomfortable. Because you know what? This is like witnessing you go through this and birth this into the world and evolve and elevate into the next version of who you're becoming is so inspiring to the people around you, myself included. And it all starts with a commitment and a bold dream. So, all of you who are chiming in, who feel bold and audacious enough to put a seed of a dream, what's your audacious, if you could just put one thing out into the world that just terrifies you, gives you sweaty palms thinking about it, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Get out there on the skinny branches, pop it in the chat, say it out loud. No one's going to hold you accountable. It's not that kind of thing. But I think that for all of us to plant the seed of a dream here tonight in this moment of creation and arrival that is here, I would love, love, love. So, who's bold enough to put some things in the chat? What's the dream? Yes. Are you kidding me right now, Sarah? That is amazing. I hope you don't mind. I'm calling you straight out. Buy a defunct college campus and turn it into a center for unlearning. Yes,
Love, love,
Sarah.
love that.
And see,
Yes, let's
when,
do it.
right, speaking on a stage, Carrie, to paint your heart out. Oh my goodness, honey. Yes. Start a podcast, which may or may call the Bloomin' Show, to be an incredibly successful cinematographer and filmmaker documentarian. Erica, it is coming for you. All right. So as you feel so inspired to pop your dream in, if you feel a little more comfortable as we go on, I would love, love, love to rally the witness and the support of this community to support each of you in doing your bold version of what Matthew has just done. Love that. All right. So a few more questions. And if you do have any questions for anyone, pop them in the chat as we go along. And then we will actually open it up for questions in just a little while as well. But as we were talking about that origin story, I want to go to kind of the question that changed everything. So, the one question from the mediator that changed your life, or as you tell us, how did your parents model conflict for you? So you've facilitated thousands of leaders. Um, is it fair to say that most transformation doesn't begin with finding better answers? It begins with someone asking us a better question. And like, what's your methodology for asking those better questions?
Okay, so yes, 100%. It's not about having the answer. It's a great coach has the right question, right? Um, this is a really hard one to answer, not because I don't have the answer, but because I don't know how to explain it.
Mm,
It isn't something, most of the time when I ask the right question, it's a question that just shows up in my mind. It's not like, okay, so first you need to understand what are they afraid of? What is their biggest concern? And then once you understand that, you need to dig deeper. Like, I don't have a methodology for that. So I would just say understanding why am I here? What am I in service of? And can I really believe in that and be in service of that? And if I can, then I know we have some kids. I was going to swear. I won't swear. Then shut up. Then just shut up and listen. Like, not listen to them, listen to spirit, God, whatever it is. Because if I can be an open channel and I can be in service, then what is in service will show up for me. And that is often a question. Sometimes it's an observation, it's a noticing, or it's a being curious about something. But yeah, most of the time it's really just being in touch with why am I here? Who am I here to serve? And then really believing in it and then getting myself out of the way, my thinky self.
beautiful. And okay, so let's go to the actual book. And there's lots of people popping their dreams into
I
the chat.
love that. I want to like harvest this and frame this and send it back to y'all. So I might just do that. Yeah.
100%. Exactly. So, why inviting genius? Why the title? And what are you inviting people into?
Um, well, let's start with your second question first. So, why the title? So, genius, the root of the word genius is inborn nature. So, we often think of genius as like Einstein, right? Um, so, really, the invitation is that we reclaim the reality that we are all a genius, that we are born genius, and that just by the nature of living and being in this world, we lose that. There's culture, there's religion, there's family. Some of these totally resonate with our authentic being, and some of them aren't. And when we're young, we're malleable and we take those on, and they become our story and they become our belief system and they become our identity. And we are out of some degree out of alignment with our genius, our unique gift that we have to bring into this world. So my I guess I would say like manifesto, my like greatest wish and biggest lever I see that we could change the trajectory in the most powerful, beautiful way is for each of us to reclaim that authentic nature of who we are, what we're here to do. Because with that comes a tremendous amount of confidence. And with that, we lose some of that need to like defend. This is obviously my hypothesis, to defend and to be right. And we can be grounded and be curious because we know that we're always in this discovery of who we are. And we can have strong ideas, but we hold them loosely. And this is where I believe conflict is such a beautiful thing because conflict is this a signal. It's just a signal that something's out of alignment.
Yeah.
And if we can, instead of trying to prove our rightness, to be in conflict and tension with curiosity and compassion, and still hold on to our authentic voice, then not only do we evolve, we connect more deeply with others and create the conditions for others to involve and evolve. And I really believe that growth happens in relationship. Like first and foremost, I mean, yeah, journaling, reflection, vision quest, like all of those are great. And it's in relationship where we can see ourselves. So it's intention where when we can be intentional, that we can really level up our spirit, psyche, operating system, worldview, belief system, identity. So the invitation is like we talked about at the top of this call, like getting naked is scary. There's no like, if I create this thing over here that's not authentically me and you don't like that, it's okay, it's not me, right? But if I'm like totally naked in here in front of you and you don't like that, like, okay, that's a different kind of, you know, uncomfortable feeling. So it's also though kind of the thing that comes up for me, and I know this is a bit long-winded and I am drinking a little bourbon, so that probably has something to do with it, but it reminds me of Indiana Jones Part 3. At the end, when Indiana Jones has to take this step out onto an invisible bridge, and he doesn't know. He's like this, it's like 1,000-foot drop, and he has to take this because he has to save his dad, get the chalice and all that stuff. Um, but he steps out on it and he's held, right? And I think that that's the invitation here, is to take that step in that, in the song of who you are, knowing that you don't know, but trusting that you will be held in that. It will very likely won't go how you expect it to go. I like promise it won't go how you expect it to go, but you will be held. And you can use whatever language and story, God, spirit, ancestors, I think it's all the same because it's coming from that authentic place deep in your soul.
Yes. And that takes courage, right? The word courage I love because the Latin root of it is heart. And when we're thinking about courage, so you talk, I think the book really argues something that to me is profoundly counterintuitive, and I'm sure to many people as well, because most of us believe that conflict destroys relationships, whereas you argue that avoiding conflict is what destroys them. So if you could convince every leader in the room, because every single person in this room is a leader, title or not, you're if you could convince every leader in this room to have the courage to take one step toward the conflict,
Mhm.
how could you coach us to do that?
If we can do if we're in conflict and we genuinely care about the other person, which I find most of the time when we're in conflict, we do really care about the other person. When conflict goes sideways, it's because we're just trying to stay safe. In its most fundamental way, we're just trying to stay safe, and we like what we the meaning we make of that is like, I need to protect the reality that I created, because if I lose that, it's disorienting, and then I don't know where I am, I don't know who I am, and I know that's like a little dramatic, but there's fractal of that. So when we are in that conflict, to genuinely care about one another and to be in touch with that fear, and to be as in touch with that fear as possible, and to name it, whatever emotion is coming up, to just say, this is happening, I am feeling this. And this is like a lot of work from this guy, Marshall Rosenberg, with nonviolent communication, where it's really about owning our own experience and not running an analysis on the reality or what the other person is doing or why the other person is doing it, but to just say, this happened, and I I'm creating a story in my mind, and I'm feeling this emotion. And to be able to do that is such a powerful invitation, because in that process, I am being seen from my experience. Be it right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's real for me. So to stay in my experience and to stay in my body and stay in my feeling and stay in my emotions and just communicate that to the other person. And if there's a need that I have, then I need to express that. I need to say, I'm not feeling safe. I'm not feeling connected. And to ask for it, which is like so hard. Why is that so hard?
It is so hard. I
Yeah.
would love to hear as we're talking in the chat. And please, if you have any background noise happening wherever you are, if you could just ensure that you're muted, that would be wonderful. But yeah, let's pop in the chat. Like, why do we all think that being vulnerable and taking these leaps of faith, why is it so hard? And let's just have that percolating as we continue our conversation. Um, because one of the hard things, so writing this book, it actually, Matthew, like, what did writing this book cost you? I'm not talking financially, but I'm talking personally, spiritually, emotionally. Like, who did you have to become to write it?
Well, there's kind of two questions. One is, what did it cost me? And what is, who do I have to become? So,
Yes.
what did it cost me? Um, it really cost me a lot. I mean, I run a business, right? I coach leadership teams. I have a 5-year-old. I have a wife. I have amazing community who many of you are on this call that are my family also. Some of them biological who are also on this call. Um, every time I invested in doing this work, I'm saying yes there and I'm saying no somewhere else. So there was a lot of that concession of the people in my life that really, really matter to me. And it was, and I think that's in part why it took 7 years, because I really wasn't willing to relinquish those relationships. So I needed to yes and it. So it cost me 7 years of juggling. Um, and who did I need to become? So some of you know this, but there's something called Six Working Geniuses, which is like an assessment that helps us understand like how do we operate. And one of the things is a working frustration, which is, what are the things that you do that really drain you? And my working frustration is tenacity. So to get something over the finish line, like I'm great at starting, I'm not great at finishing. So it who did I need to become? Kind of two things. One, I need to become a finisher and a marathonist. And two, probably the most important thing, my second working frustration is galvanizing. So is getting people motivated to do something. And I had to inspire a lot of people to do something because this book, writing it and publishing it, was a profound team effort. And what I needed to do, who I needed to become, was someone that could galvanize. Someone, back to our last question, if I want it, I got to do what it takes to make it happen. And a huge thing of doing what it takes to make it happen is asking for help. And I had to do that. And it was incredibly uncomfortable for me. However, who did I become? It's much easier now. It was like this muscle that I wasn't working out for a long time because I just had that, like, I don't know, in some ways the Working Geniuses was like not helpful because I'm like, oh, I'm not a good galvanizer. Oh, I'm not good at finishing things. And I kind of like took that on. So I I changed the story and I can do these things and all of us can do these things. Um, so I know this is not your question, but it feels really important to say is that we all have these stories about what we're capable of and what we're not capable of. And I would just invite us all to challenge that because I really felt strongly that I'm not good at asking for help. I'm not good at motivating people. I'm not good at finishing things. And it took me 7.5 years, so maybe I'm not good at finishing things, but I finished it.
You finished.
I finished it. So, it's really, really challenging. I've challenged myself at the core of my identity and really looked in the mirror of my soul and said, okay, you've been the story up to this point, but you're not going to be the story moving forward. And then my behaviors followed that. And that was pretty significant.
And I have to believe there are a number of people in the room who, when they're exploring the concept of genius, even in their like nature, their inner critic sometimes still says, I'm not a genius. So how can you support loving that inner critic? And anytime when you may have doubted yourself or were in conflict with yourself, how did you work through that in this process?
Um, First with a lot of resistance, not wanting to acknowledge that. Um, and also like creating space for it, I think is really important. There is a story and to rather than to just kind of push away from that story as like I don't want that to be the case, to really make space for that voice. Oh, hey, you're here. Like, okay, like what do you want to talk about? And just being there and being present with that and like letting it in and then also kind of then taking a step back and saying, okay, like I hear you. Like there's a part of you that's super valuable and super essential and like I need you. I just don't need the volume that loud. And I need you actually in the back seat. In fact, I need you in the trunk. So it was understanding that these things are coming up that I mean, and I did a lot of this like on LinkedIn, which was like incredibly uncomfortable for me. Lindsay, my other coach, is also on the call today, and other folks in Elevated. And like I'm like allergic to social media, and everyone's like, you gotta do social media. So I'm like, okay, I'll do social media. It was really, really hard, but I was like, look, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna be really authentic. And I just showed up and I was like, hey, y'all, like, this is what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. This is really hard. It's really hard, like making this video for you. All of this is really hard. So it was really just about, yeah, kind of doing it. There's a saying, if you're scared, then do it scared. And
Yeah.
that's what was coming up. Yeah, I was scared. There was a lot of things that were really uncomfortable. And it's like, well, then do it uncomfortably.
Love that. Okay, we've got a question in the chat for you, but I'm going to reserve it just for a minute because as we move into that section that is the invitation, before we get there, I just want to talk a bit about the masculine and feminine conversation because this is a beautifully provocative idea in the book. And I think some readers may initially react perhaps to the language of masculine and feminine energy. So, there's what you say in the words, and then what is it you hope they hear behind the words or beneath the words?
So taking a little step back and understanding what do I mean by masculine and feminine energy. So if you look back 5,000 years ago, yin and yang, that's masculine and feminine energy. So masculine energy has nothing to, I wouldn't say nothing to do. It does not mean masculine energy lives within men and feminine energy lives within women. Masculine energy lives within all genders and feminine energy lives within all genders. So masculine energy is about strategy and vision and execution and outward and structure, and plans. And feminine energy is about inward contemplation, reflection, introspection, intuition. All of those are essential for all of us as human beings. And I think we're out of balance a bit here. So this is part of a reclamation of the wholeness of who we are. I think a lot of times, more often than not, we're over-indexing the masculine energy. So what I hope people hear is that we all contain the whole spectrum and that there are probably parts of ourselves that we have muted through socialization, through acculturation, like our intuition, like knowing, like it doesn't make sense out there in the data, but I just know that this is true. And we don't listen to it. So there are things about listening and being curious and reflecting. I mean, we were very, and I'm not perfect. Like I do this too. Like go, 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 plan, goals, achieve, move without enough time. And Krista, you and I talked about this, and this has been a big part of my journey of this launch is not making time to receive. Building a goal, pre-order, 5,000 pre-orders in the next 2 months. That was my goal. Then I came up with my strategy. Then I came up with my weekly execution plan. Then I executed. And I didn't take time along the way until like 3 weeks ago to pause, to just, I literally like would sit and meditate and like be open. I would hold my arms and my heart and like everything open and just like visualize the quantum field pouring into me. So that's the divine feminine or the sacred feminine or the healthy feminine, whatever you want to call it, is the receiving of things. So my wish is that we understand that our genius contains all the colors in the spectrum, in that masculine feminine spectrum, and that we look at where are we out of alignment and why are we out of alignment. And then we do that courageous work of repairing. And when I say repairing, I mean like literally repairing with our soul, with our wholeness, with our genius. And remembering, putting ourselves back together, that we were born genius, and that genius includes the whole continuum of those energetics. And then to begin to become conversational and then become fluent in how do we attenuate. Sometimes there's a time for full masculine energy for all genders. Sometimes there's a time for full feminine energy and just receiving and reflecting and going inward. And most of the time we need to calibrate that based on where we are and what is our context. And to have access to that whole palette, golly, like imagine that. So that is what I hope people walk away with, is like, you don't have like black, gray, and brown on your palette. Like y'all got a rainbow, and it's beautiful, and it is already in you. You just have the volume turned to 0, and it's hurting you. Turn it up.
And man, I'm sure many of us have tears in our eyes from that last question. I mean, what a divinely on point spiritual take on a topic that I'm not sure anyone has really believed to be a spiritual topic, and you have just brought that to the next level. And the way that you're talking about the spectrum gives such a beautiful nod to the symbolism on the cover.
Mhm.
And you really make this beautiful distinction. I love the wordsmithing that you chose with the repairing and being able to add that dash remembering and bringing it towards this concept of Matthew Abrams' version of integrity, right? That distinction between integrity isn't necessarily morality, it's wholeness. So, when you were talking about achievement, like how would our lives change if we measured success by wholeness instead of achievement?
I think we would all feel profoundly liberated. You know, I think that we would have so much less to prove. We would be so much more intrinsically motivated than extrinsically motivated. And I think if we are to live from our wholeness, not only would we be liberated, but I believe we would liberate others in our wake. And I have that, I think it's Marianne Williams poem behind me. Like, I'm gonna paraphrase here, but it's like, we ask this question, like, who am I to be beautiful and famous and rich and strong and bold? And she's like, who are you not to be? Like, you dimming yourself does not serve anyone. When we live in alignment with our greatest, boldest gifts in this world, we not only light up the world, but we create the space and the permission for others to say yes.
So good. And we are all saying yes right now. I know it. I can feel the energy in every single one of you. And I want to now turn it over to the audience and give people an opportunity to ask their questions. I'm going to start with the one that was put into the chat by Rise Up Business Coaching. Thank you. Um,
Renee, what's up,
Yes,
Renee?
and then I will have each of you should in your control panel have an opportunity, a place where you can raise your hand. So just throw your hands up if you want to be able to unmute and ask a question. And while we're having people who are raising those hands, let's start with that very first one, which is how are you going to use this book as a vehicle for change? So in practical terms, what's next?
Yeah, thanks, Renee. That's a great question. Um, here comes the masculine. All right, so there's a vision that this is the first book, and there's a second book, which is a parable of the first book. Of This is for leaders, and this is going to be a story of a team that transforms from out of alignment to in alignment. That's a very distilled version. Um, there's the writing component, there's keynote speaking that I'm doing and I want to do more of. Um, there's a conflict profile assessment that I've created, which helps leaders and people in general really understand that when we're in conflict, when we're in tension, we default to showing up a certain way. So there are kind of 8 different archetypes of how we show up. So having that self-awareness and for groups to have that team awareness of how do we show up together, how do we default. So different tools, different ways to engage, different ways to support. I've also developed a workshop series starting with, okay, so this is the big vision. So 10-year target, create the conditions for 10 million people to live with greater integrity, greater authenticity. Okay, so there's 7 books that are planned right now. There is something, there's the assessment, there's apps, there's workshops, there's all that. There's train the trainers for workshops. So I'm going to train other people to lead the content that I'm developing. And then here's my really exciting thing that I'm like profoundly excited about. And I think this is what I've learned to be called a new category. So it's not like adding value into something that already is established. Think like more like Uber, create a new category, right? Something that didn't exist before. So the book is called Inviting Genius, and I have 3 pilot companies that I'm working with to create something called a G Corp certification. So this is G Corp, Genius Corp is demonstrates like scientifically, academically, rigorously demonstrates human-centered organization. So as we move more and more into an AI world, information is becoming commoditized. So what's going to become really important? Relational intelligence. So how do we understand really what does that mean? And how do we build our capabilities as an organization to create the conditions for everyone to have a voice, for everyone to live authentically, for business to be a vehicle? Marquez, this is for you. Business to be a vehicle for self-realization. For that to happen and to have an understanding of what that is, and then to have an assessment and like a comprehensive rubric that can help companies understand where they are and understand how to get to the next layer. So there are 3 tiers, 3 certification levels of G Corp. That's the big vision for the next 5 years, is building that, demonstrating viability, and having that really be authenticated through case studies, and through data and through stories and all of that. So after business, then I'm looking at families, and then I'm looking at teens. So I see this as like I have what's called a systems thinking lens. So I don't believe that we can just look at a leader without looking at the leader's team, without looking at the leader's family, without looking at the leader's social circle. So how do we create the conditions for authenticity and integrity in all those nested holes so that we can have a ripple effect and use this work to really transform millions and millions of lives? That's where I am.
That is a standing ovation answer. Can you even believe mic drop is right, Evan? Please, can you just unmute for a second, crowd, and please give Matthew a round of applause. No joke. Let's give some cheers. That
Yeah.
unbelievable. Amazing. I mean, talk about going out on the skinny branches and giving us the full meal deal of that vision. Don't all of us as entrepreneurs? I can't wait to have a G Corp. I mean, it's the coolest thing. And it's not 1 million people. That was a 10 million people. And I have every belief with every cell in my body that you are the man that will champion all of this into the world. And it's the creation of a movement. It is not just one thing. And it all starts right here, right now. And we get to be the witnesses that watch this launch into the world. How fortunate and blessed are we to be the ones to be here? It's so incredibly cool. So thank you for sharing. If we can also have you mute if you've got any background noise, that would be amazing. And just the magnitude of that, I think for all of us that are here celebrating you and holding space, it is beyond inspiring. And I think what you're asking each of us to do just by having the courage to share your vision is to ask ourselves, where are we playing small? And just how you've shared with us, Matthew, that each one of us is unquestionably a genius. How can we tap into that innate nature, those gifts that are inborn, and harness that unique genius and bring it to the world in whatever form it takes? So thank you for having the courage to lead with that. Well, are there any other questions that anyone is asking here? Well, we've got Evan in the chat asking, will the corporate vehicle be the Mercedes G-Class? Good joke, love that. How do we order Inviting Genius? So I've put one of the links right here in the chat. I'm going to put the Amazon link to the book in the chat for you right now as well. Do we have any other people who have questions that they want to ask right now?
I
That you
just
can
hope he's going
either
to do it on
unmute.
Audible. I'm a listener.
Yes.
Okay, so fun fact, I recorded, so you're gonna have to, before you like have a visceral response, just listen to my whole sentence. I recorded an audio file of the book with AI, and that's available right now. I hate that, but there were people that were like, I don't want to buy 50 copies of the book unless I can like experience the book, and I don't read. I'm like, okay. But being an entrepreneur, you got to solve the problem. So I created that. But in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I'm recording the Audible version, and I will send that out to everyone when it's available. And I'm an Audible person too. So that will be available like next month this time.
You have a
Amazing.
great voice, Matthew, and it needs to be heard.
Agreed. And no one can tell the tale better than you with the passion and all of the creative energy that is your unique genius. When you read it, it changes everything for all of us, just in the way that you've even answered these questions. So here in the live studio audience of one over on this side, I have a special guest who just rolled in who wants to just say a little hello to you, Matthew Abrams. So please welcome to the stage, Eric the Viking.
Hey, Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are
Good,
you?
good. Awesome. Hey, the podcast we did on the Viking Academy was amazing. I'm so looking forward to this. And when Krista told me that you were doing the live podcast, announcement of the book, I'm like, I got to come on and say hi because that's so awesome. We just finished a workshop here, and I just want to say congratulations. I love the conversation, everything you said. It resonates so much with me, and what the work you're doing is so important. And so just keep going, man. You've got a huge cheerleading team, and this Viking's completely on page with you, man. So awesome. Great work.
I feel it, man. Thank you, Eric. I'm so grateful to have you in the community now. Eric is a coach at Strategic Coach, an awesome dude, has a podcast, The Viking Academy, and does a lot of amazing other work. So thank you, Eric. Yep, let's go, man. Let's hop on that boat and do the positive Viking work, not the
it's
masculine Viking work.
It's combining the masculine and feminine. It's the wholeness that is there. It's about exploring ourselves and becoming who we're actually meant here to be. So you and I are completely in alignment, and I love the messaging. So, and I'm so excited to read the book. This is gonna be great.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Amazing. And to that end, for those who were wondering, you now have the Amazon link in the chat. So you can definitely go to either of those links to learn more and to purchase your copy of the book. But I know that everybody already did. So, all right, now let's bring it home. We've got 6 minutes to the top of the hour. And I want to make sure, Matthew, that you have an opportunity to have the last word. Are there any additional questions that we have from anybody here in the chat who wants to pop them in, and I'll read them and have Matthew answer, or raise your hand and unmute yourself to ask yourself before I ask another one or two before we head out? Oh, can we see the cover?
Yeah,
yes. All right.
I can pull that up.
Amazing. And while you're pulling that up, we have a question from Alyssa. Hey, Alyssa. Great to see you. You mentioned that you started your book, Matthew, with the death of a business, a metaphor for the death of the parts of you that were not aligned. So, what advice do you have for anyone who fears the death of those pieces?
Oh man, I can't pull up the book and answer that question at the same time. Um, it's going to be hard. It could be hard. Give yourself grace, give yourself space, lots of compassion, because it's a very real part of our identity, of who we are. And just because something no longer serves us doesn't mean it's easy to release it. Also, release, real ease. So it's important that we just acknowledge the gravity of that process, of that hospicing process, and also understand that we know the why on the other side. Why are we doing it? And we have some idea of what it will look like. We're not going to be really clear on that, but we really understand the why, and we know, we feel it in our bodies that it's the right decision. It's the right path. It's aligned with who we are. So, um, I think my dad was on the call or is on the call. He was a dentist. So if we're trying to discern, is this the right path? One of his patients told me this story that always stayed with me. He had a patient that was a general and would literally send boys to battle, knowing that some of those boys were not coming back. And my dad, he's a sentimentalist like I am, was like, how do you make that decision? And he said, well, I do three things. I get all the information I can possibly have access to in the time that I have. I get that, I process it, I make meaning of it, and then I check in with my heart. What do I feel? And then I put it on the shelf and I listen and go with my gut. So if we're in that inflection point, we're really trying to understand that is a process that has served me in my journey in trying to discern. But if it is, my gut says go this way, then it is about really understanding that this is a death, that there's going to be grief, and giving it space and really honoring that death and celebrating and ritualizing that death and not being alone in that, having others in your community.
Oh, the sentimentalists unite. I love it. Absolutely amazing.
Oh, and thank you, Evan, for sharing the cover.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. My
And thank
copy
you for the
paste
question, Alyssa.
didn't work. Okay. If you had to do it all over again, this is another question from the chat. If you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Oh boy. I wouldn't have worked with my first publisher because they went out of business. And they weren't. So Krista also founded the publishing company that I'm working with. And so I wouldn't have met her. So it all honestly, kind of like life. I don't know if I would have done anything differently. Um, I, I really wouldn't have. I feel like this has been such a beautiful journey. And, there are things that I didn't do well. Um, Lots of learning, lots of things I would do definitely next time. But I wasn't that person then. So I really felt like each step of the way I showed up with integrity. And like when I was unclear, I like found people who had been there, done that, and asked them, and got support and guidance. So it's a great question. I can't say there's nothing, but there's nothing that's coming up for me in this moment.
Amazing. All right. Before I ask my last two questions, is there anything, Matthew, that you want me to ask you that I haven't already?
Um, Anything that I want you to ask me?
That you feel would add value to
No, there isn't.
It
Like, I feel like so full, and I have no expectations of this call other than to really be present and be real and celebrate with my favorite people in the world. So I feel like we've done an amazing exploratory job, and you can tell Eric we were Vikings here together, just going out and yeah, digging in and seeing what's up.
Amazing. Well, legacy is something that is so near and dear to my own heart. So I just want to talk about that as we bring this to a close. So imagine, Matthew, that it's 20 years from now,
Mhm.
and someone that you've never met picks up a copy of Inviting Genius in a bookstore. They've never met you, they've never heard you speak. What do you hope quietly changes in their life because you chose to write this book?
Uh, Amazing question. I hope nothing quietly changes in their life. I hope something and many things loudly change in their life. And they are at that inflection point and they're realizing like, what am I doing? Like there are these things that are out of alignment that I'm tolerating in my life. And I have one life and it's a precious life. And I want to really like I want to burn the wick down to the bottom and I want to leave that light in that world. And I'm gonna stop dimming it down and I'm gonna live out loud. That's what I would hope that they would do.
Amazing. All right. Well, as we head to the very final question, I just want to thank you so much for giving me the privilege and the honor for hosting this, for holding space for you to invite this invitation to celebrate with everyone who is so proud of you. I know I speak for every single one of us. We're inspired by you. We are proud of you. And the magnitude of that vision, I mean, we all, I know, are just reverberating from having heard it. It was the mic drop of a century. And I just want to thank and congratulate you. As the founder of the publishing company under which your book is published, as your coach, as a dear, dear inner circle bestie, I am truly grateful. So thanks for choosing me. And I feel like to close it off, I want to give you the last word. So everyone dreams at some point in their career of giving the equivalent of an Academy Award winning, like an Academy Award speech. So Matthew Abrams, this is your time. Giving
Oh,
you the
wow.
last word. Here we are. It's time for your speech. And thank you all for being here. I appreciate immensely being able to celebrate alongside you, our incredible friend Matthew. Take it
Well,
away.
first of all, thank you, Krista. You held this space so beautifully and invited parts of myself into the community in such a graceful, artful way. And I am so appreciative and humbled by this whole community and you kind of guiding us through this. So what I would say is what I start the acknowledgments in the book with is that they say like writing is a very solitary act. And I would say it's the exact opposite. I have had so many people, like my name is on the book, but it's like a whole village. And there have been so many people throughout every step of the way that have been involved and invested in the book, invested in me, supporting me, picking me up when I was dragging, even maybe sometimes pulling me across the ground when I was like not able to like keep going. You know, I probably wouldn't say this in the Academy Awards, but I would say this here is that over the past 7 years, I had a wife that had cancer. I was told by the oncologist that we would never have biological children. My wife is cancer free. We have a beautiful 5-year-old son. And I have been held up by this community every step of the way. It's not just about writing a book. A book is just one part of it. It's about holding me, and we all do this with each other. You know, it's not just me, but in this like Academy Award speech is like I have felt so held and loved on and inspired and challenged and pushed every step of the way in the most perfect, beautiful ways that, yes, the book has my name on it, but it is a collaborative creation. And I am so profoundly grateful to be in this moment and then to have the mystery, feminine, of tomorrow and not knowing what it will be, but knowing that I will continue to work and continue to include all of you in this journey. And I am so grateful. Thank you. I love you. I love you all profoundly. And it is such a gift to have you here and have you in my life. And that's all I got.
Amazing. And for anyone and everyone, please, everybody unmute and feel free to chime in with your congratulations. Celebrate.
Love you.
Yay,
Matthew.
Congrats,
Let's
Matthew.
go.
You, Matthew.
Love you.
Yeah. Congratulations, Matthew. It's awesome. You're the man.
Thank you. All right, to be continued with us all. Thank you for being in my life.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you all for being here. Congratulations, Matthew. You
Thank
did
you.
it. You
Thank
did
Can't wait to
it.
read the book. Cannot wait.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.
We are definitely going to have to export this chat, Matthew. You are going
I
to
think
love
so.
reading it
100%.
all. Amazing.